With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Everything old is new again. That seems to be the theme here for tonight, leading into round 3 of the championship. For the GR86 drivers, it's a fan-favorite circuit and longtime iRacing stalwart in the form of Laguna Seca. For the GT4s, it's the new kid in town in Magny Cours. How will the new GR86 handle this familiar track in California, and how will the GT4s cope with the twists, turns, and high curves of Magny Cours? We won't have long to wait to find out as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Monday Night PRL Series live here on RaceSpotTV. My name is DJ Clark, joined here in the commentary booth by Lorenzo Bonder, with Connery Maddock working as director and producer behind the scenes. And Lorenzo, a little bit of an unknown here for these drivers. Sure, they know Laguna Seca well, but these GR86s is going to throw a whole new wrench into the works for them.
Yeah, because you got elevation changes and everything here, DJ. So it's far different than racing in Virginia and also Magny Course. So it's going to be an interesting aspect for them to be thrown off. How they negotiate going through the course crew, how deep they want to dive, and how deep you want to commit maybe to an overtake, maybe at the final corner. These next minutes should provide some very interesting racing. I'm very looking forward to see it.
I'm very much looking forward to seeing it as well. As we take a look there at the schedule. After tonight's round, we head to Summit Point. Then we head on a little bit of an Asian leg in Fuji and Tsukuba. Head back over to Germany for Oschersleben, and then to Alton Park, and round out the series there at Road America and Rudskogen. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic schedule to be able to keep your eyes on, so make sure you keep tuned here for RaceSpotTV on Monday nights. Let's also go ahead and run you through the championship standings, as Ataconis up at the top of the charts following last round. But Mariano Barrios and Kevin Sandiego are certainly knocking on the door, really looking like this is going to develop into a three-way fight. From there back, we still have a very close battle for fourth place. Aaron Law, Farewell, Chase, Farrell, Sharp, Greeno, and Jonathan Dam, all within striking distance of Aaron Law. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on here tonight, of who's going to be able to keep up their run of good form. We also have a teams championship to go through, and in that, as you imagine, a lot of the similar drivers holding on to the top of the standings there for them, with Ataconis' team looking like they are going to be able to hold on pretty well up at the top. Red Tip Factory Racing Team going to be holding on the top, with Dark Horse Esports and YS Motorsports looking like they're in a three-way fight as well. There you can see the standings. Unlimited Slip back in fourth place. Walking Pace Racing has a little bit of room to try to make up, and then a good battle there between Crikey Esports and URF Motorsports. Then it's Moonlight Speed and Lunatic Racing holding on to 8th place over 4X Blue Booney and Gremic Racing in P10. So that rounds through all of that. And now, before we get to the qualifying action out on the track, have a few sponsors to thank, namely VCO, the virtual competition organization, without which none of our PRL coverage would be possible. So a massive, massive thank you to the VCO. We'd also like to thank Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount code on all ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Also like to thank Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts. From the casual gamer to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. Also like to thank RaceLab Apps. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Also, thanks to the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products provide an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself into the driver's seat. Also, Mecha Sim Hardware, who is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you are looking for a high-end pedal set, handbrake, or sequential shifter, visit Mecha Sim Hardware's eShop right now and get yourself up to speed. And finally, we'd like to thank Ninja Trader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, Ninja Trader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. Ninja Trader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Well, folks, with about 2.5 minutes left to go in qualifying, it's not a whole lot of surprise up at the top of the charts, with Justin Ataconis leading the way in P1. Barrios and Sandiego are 3 and 4, but the one surprise for me here on the day, Lorenzo, Jonathan Dam putting in a fantastic time, only finding himself a 10th of a second off of Ataconis in second place right now.
Yeah, and just taking a quick look over here for Damu is actually into the top 5, so that's the first time Damu's actually bursting into the top 3 bubble for this GR86 championship. So that is really good to see. But of course, we got about a minute and a minute and 50 seconds. It's about a full lap, and then something extra as we see Kevin San Diego into the final corner. Is this going to be an improvement on his time? If it is going to be by marginal gaps, not too much, actually nearly a half a second slower, but pretty much here, DJ, it's kind of like positioning. I think for Laguna Seca is important if you really want to gun for a top 10, but then maintaining yourself into the top 10 because you have this car, which is a little bit different than you probably would navigate a Mazda. Might make a little bit more difficult than usual. So that's why I'm interested to see these cars tackle, because I've never seen these cars tackle before a track like this. They usually tackle more flat tracks than up and down roller coaster like track.
Yeah, very much so, and we'll have to see how these suspensions really differ in terms of the MX-5 that we're used to, as Michael Chase is going to cross over the line there. Looks like that's not going to be an improvement there for him. A 37 flat going to be all that Michael Chase is able to do. He will stay in 9th place here at this moment, as Kwok Nin, a long-time stalwart here on the Precision Racing League. Good to see him again. We mentioned it last week, but good to see him here in this new GR86 series. And yeah, Lorenzo, to your point, we haven't really seen how these cars are going to take to elevation change. Obviously a little bit of a stiffer sprung suspension than the MX-5, so that's going to change things around a little bit, and a little bit of downforce being able to be generated on that rear wing. That's going to help these cars just a little bit, I think, and going to make for some very, very interesting racing. We may see a little bit more passing than we are used to out of the MX-5s here when you come to Laguna Seca. As there we watch as everything works its way on in. Qualifying looks like it is done and dusted for the day. It's going to be Justin Ataconis continuing on in a very, very good run of form up in that pole position in the number 318. And let's go ahead and run you over to our qualifying grid, as it does look like the drivers here are starting to form up for a full formation lap under the pace car. Ataconis leads the way over Jonathan Dam, the URF Motorsports driver, putting in a stellar performance. Barrios and Kevin San Diego line up 3 and 4, 2 of your title contenders there in the second row. And it's Patrick Farrell and Michael Lorty who line up 5th and 6th. Andrew Sharp going to line up behind them in 7th, with Gerard Farewell in 8th place. Michael Chase only good enough for 9th here, followed by his son Austin Bartlett Chase in P10. Then it's going to be Dakota Tabler and Raymond Day who lines up in 12th place. 13th place will be the number 16 of Richard Swindells, followed by Nathan Miller. Then it's Kwok Nin and Matthew Wegenar. Then in 17th place, Brian Soboleski, followed by Aaron Law. Kevin Berquist will line up 19th, and Rob Campbell will round out your top 20. Anthony Dring lines up in 21st, with Pierre Robitaille in 22nd, and the very familiar Christmas package livery, followed by Baron Glover in 23rd, and then Andrew Venaro will be 24th. 25th is Ian Cabana, followed by Buddy Chamberlain, with Josh Kimball and Malcolm Foster 28th. Then it's going to be Matthew Zagalin in 39th, and 29th and 30th will be William Sullivan, and that will round out your 30-car grid as the pace car pulls away here. Standing start, different than it was in the MX-5s, and, well, I feel like a broken record here, Lorenzo, but that's really the storyline over the course of this season, is the differences running from those MX-5s into the GR86s and how the drivers are best able to cope with those changes.
Yeah, and I think we come into a track that I think getting a really good run once a big pace car goes in, because you're just coming out of the corner, the pace car is already going in, so Ataconis basically has control over the field and can go whenever he wants, so he can basically go as late as he wants it to go, try to get a little bit of a breakaway and then secure that P1 spot by basically assuring that nobody's going to dive bomb him and leave the chaos behind him. So it's going to be an interesting race, because I think for the first time they're facing a deep diving corner where everything can go south. Of course, Virginia works similarly to this, of course, DJ, but because you have just a small elevation change or on a slight downhill, slightly banked as well, might be difficult things for the cars to try to settle themselves in with the cold tires. So that's why this turn one might prove a little bit of chaotic, but it's going to be interesting and exciting to watch nevertheless.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how everything is going to be handled going into that first corner. And you really said a word there that is very apropos, and that is chaos. We oftentimes see drivers getting it wrong going down into that first corner a little bit, or especially rather, with cold tires, cold brakes coming on in. I think getting both of those up to speed here, up to temperature in this pace lap is going to be very crucial for these drivers.
Absolutely. So as we're probably going to see the final curves, we're going to see Adaconis. I really want to see how late he goes on that accelerator so we can start this race.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested as well as there the iRacing pace car pulls off down into pit lane, giving control of the field to Adaconis. He's going to come down here through turn 11 right now. Looks like he's not going to get going quite yet, but there goes the green, and we are racing here in Laguna Seca. It looks like a good pull away there for Adaconis. You saw Kevin Sandiego immediately slide down to that left-hand line. That's going to leave the 54 of Jonathan Van Dam maybe a little bit up for grabs here. Mariano Barrios certainly thinks so. He's going to try to dive down to the inside, as is Kevin Sandiego. Behind them, that's Patrick Farrell trying to be able to see what he can do up from 5th place here at this moment as they work their way through the corners, and Jonathan Dam all the way down into 4th place in just so many corners and almost losing another position there to Farrell.
Yeah, Farrell, I think we'll try to go for the up and under move on the exit of turn number 3, but unfortunately just could not capitalize because there's a little bit of a sand runoff, and that sand usually can take the grip out of the car. Right, a little bit behind Farrell. It looks like there's a battle for P6 going on as they go up the hill. And this corner right here, the one thing you really don't want to be doing is this side by side.
No, you certainly do not. And that car that you saw poking to the inside there, that was Andrew Sharp trying to get a little bit of a move done on Michael Lordy. Sharp obviously not successful there as we come down into the corkscrew for the first time. A little bit of defensive lines being thrown a little bit farther back in the pack, but it looks like about the top 8 are going to be able to take that famous corner around this Laguna Seca circuit at full temperature here, or full speed rather, here at this point. A little bit of a wide run for Adaconis. Could he be feeling a little bit of pressure from Barrios? This was the story of last week's race, is just withstanding as much pressure as possible. Adaconis did a great job doing it, but let's see if he's able to make it play out here today as well.
Coming up into the final corner is a little bit of snaking from Adaconis into the line, just going to the inside, gluing towards the wall, and trying to kind of block the inside line here from Barrios to try to make the dive itself here, DJ. But I don't think Barrios is going to basically risk it on lap number 12. It wouldn't be the smart move, but right behind, well, you can risk it. It's kind of like risk-free. You can do it. The problem is, if you cannot make it, you're going to lose a lot of time, and apparently Andrew Sharp right there just had a little bit of trouble coming out of turn number 2.
Yeah, I think he was trying to get a little bit of a run here, potentially on the car in front of him. That's Gerard Farrell, and Farrell not able, or was able to actually get the move done on him, so trying to move it around here, and now Sharp's going to find himself under attack here from Austin Bartlett Chase, who's up 1 position from starting in P10. As they now come down into the corner, Chase taking a little bit of a narrower line there through turn 5, going to try to carry a little bit of speed. We ride on board here with the number 23 machine, as there comes a move. That is going to be Sharp trying to be able to hold off any attack, and that is going to be a little bit of an overrun there. The 23 of Austin Bartlett Chase going back and forth. We're actually riding on board here with Dakota Tabler. Things getting a little bit hairy coming down into the corkscrew, thinking about trying to make that too wide as Austin Bartlett Chase tried to move there around the outside. Maybe a little bit of contact there with the number 79 of Tabler, but they're going to keep it together. And look at that, Aaron Law trying to pick up the pieces as they go 2 by 2 down through the rainy curve.
Ooh, a little bit of door banging action right there. Law still retaining their position a little bit, but how patient is Law going to be as they're going to go into the final corner here, DJ? I don't know how this is going to pan out, but I can only have a few words over here. You can end in tears or in a lot of joy for a lot of drivers.
Yeah, it certainly can. Now the other chase looks like they're under a little bit of attack here. That's Michael Chase under attack from Raymond Day. A little bit farther back in your shot. They're going to be side by side as they cross through turn one. That's Chase down to the inside. That is Day out to the outside trying to sweep that number 77 machine the long way around the Andretti hairpin. Little bit of a hip check there from the number 34 of Michael Chase, and he's going to hold on to that position. But we've got to go back up to the front of the field because there has been a change for position. Barrios taking advantage here of Ataconis. Ataconis now looking to fight back.
Side by side in San Diego, not far behind. He wants that position as well.
Yeah, he certainly does as they go side by side through turn 5 right now and work their way up the hill. That is going to be Barrios down to the inside, Ataconis to the to the outside. Good little over-under move there for Mariano Barrios to make that work, but here comes Kevin Sandiego. He's going to have the inside line as they come down into the corkscrew. Also looking behind there is Pharrell and Dam as they now dive down into the corner. It looks like they're going to sort themselves out into single file order. Jonathan Dam looking like he lost a little bit of momentum. Michael Lorty is going to be very interested to be able to see that as we follow here the number 19 and the number 318 as they try to be able to see if they can get anything. Good heads-up play here from Mariano Barrios to be able to take control of this race, but Kevin Sandiego and Ataconis not going anywhere.
I was going to say massive respect between Ataconis and Barrios coming into the into the Bobby Rahal straight, you know, just two abreast, kind of like breaking each other, nearly hit each other as well. But then again, this is fair racing between everybody. Let's see if here comes the move on the inside.
Big move up to the inside for Ataconis. Barely enough space to be able to fit a single GR86 through there, but he is able to make it work. And now he is going to be back up into second place. Kevin Sandiego demoted down to third.
Yeah, but still within the top 3, which is really good for San Diego. Not a lot of time lost because Farrell and Dam not far behind Lordy. We can say that as well. Even Farrell, despite being 3 seconds abreast, just getting in one battle, you lose about a second and a half maybe, depending where are you in the track. And you can bring Farrell as well into the mix between this 6-car train. So for everything that we've seen, the only factor that is kind of like the most beneficial for now is Barrios, because he nearly is breaking away the 1 second barrier, and in these cars you kind of need that 1 second barrier to be a little bit less than that if you really want to catch the draft out of someone.
Yeah, you very much do, and we saw that come to play last time out in Magny-Cours for these drivers, that 1 second was absolutely crucial, as we saw Barrios do just about this thing. As we check a little bit farther back in the field here at this point, this is Kevin Bergquist right now, working his way around, trying to see if he's going to be able to send a little bit of a move on Rob Campbell as they dive down into the corkscrew. Campbell able to hold off relatively well. Behind them, you can see Baron Glover, Pierre Robitaille, and Ian Cabana. Not fully into this fight yet necessarily, but they're certainly close enough to be able to keep this competitive. A little bit more movement farther up into the field. This is Dakota Tabler. Remember, we were following Tabler a little bit earlier. He now finds himself under attack from behind Andrew Sharp and Aaron Law, trying to see what they can do.
I think Law is going to go for the move on the inside, make it 3 wide maybe, but here comes Law, dived in on the inside. He's going to have a little bit of room to work with. Doesn't look like it as for the time being. Tabler is going to retain that 9th position so far.
Yeah, Tabler's going to hold on to that for the moment as they come up through turn 4 right now, working their way around, trying to see what they are able to get. Now through turn 4, the left-hander goes the number 79 machine. Looks like Tabler's been able to run good defense, but look at the time he's lost up in front of him. It's about a half second up to Austin Bartlett Chase, and that's really going to be one of the stories of this race here, Lorenzo, is that this track, I think more than most, if you decide to go side by side, it's going to catch you out and you're going to lose time to those up ahead of you.
Yeah, especially around this corner when you come into the Bobby Rahal straight and you go up, you lose about 0.3 of a second depending how committed you want to go through the corner, and that 0.3 of a second, especially on like crunch laps, is going to be decisive. Basically, if you really want to close down a gap on someone, to be good with someone that looks like it is Farewell with some issues out of the track.
Oh, that's the number 65 of Farrell. Not entirely sure what happened to him there, but pointed the wrong way underneath the rainy curve. We're going to take a look at the replay here. I have a sneaking suspicion this may have been a self-inflicted incident for the number 65. Comes down into the corkscrew, looks like everything's able to go, and just catches a little bit too much of that inside line, and some pretty hefty damage there to the right-hand side of that car.
And not only that, but you can see kind of like him trying to re-accelerate, and the car is still not settled down. Look here now, the car kind of bounces off, and once you try to re-accelerate out of the car, you basically have no grip whatsoever. Basically gave everything away, hitting the wall. Unfortunate for the 65, but still carrying it on despite being several spots back.
Yeah, still able to carry on, so that's going to be crucial there for him as we check back in on the battle right now for P4. Farrell and Jonathan Dam, your second place driver there. Dam trying to be able to move his way forward. They've got to be a little bit careful. Michael Lorty not too far behind this battle, kicking up a little bit of dust there on the exit of turn 6 as they work their way up the Bobby Rahal straight right now. You can also see up at the front of the field that big 1.2 second gap for Mariano Barrios has dissipated here. It's down to about 0.4 of a second, call it 3.5. Ooh, is a little bit of a wiggle there for the 54 of Jonathan Dam, trying to keep the pressure here to the back of Patrick Farrell.
And I'm wondering how, this is for me, how Lordy actually is going to try to go, as we see Codename actually having some issues from what it looks like on the uphill. Looks like it was a little bit slow, but looks like it goes side by side into the corner, and like I said before, two don't make one.
No, they certainly don't. This is the replay here. Yak walking in, going side by side, trying to get back on the loud pedal there while straddling the curbs. And I think there was just a little bit of over grip there. As we take another look at the replay here, this is Austin Bartlett Chase, the number 23, coming down through the rainy curve. Going to clip a little bit there. Able to get through everything nice and easily. Now comes down into turn 10. Too much speed into the corner, and that rear end of the car is going to break away. And he is a lucky boy that there wasn't more damage from behind.
Yeah, luckily for him, you know, just throwing that car into the inside, going into the sand, of course, just losing several spots into the track itself, but still within the race as we're back into this fight for the lead. Apparently now Atacona is just with a second life because they're close to one another, and San Diego not far behind.
No, and that last lap, by the way, was Ataconis' personal best there, a 1:35.79. That's only about 0.02 of a second off of the fastest lap of the race, set by Barrios up ahead of him. So clearly some good speed. A little bit of alternating lines there.
Slow down.
Yep. Slowdown penalty issued there to Mariano Barrios, coming down through the corkscrew. Just got a little bit too aggressive trying to be able to get it, and he's still trying to bleed speed as he's going to run over and out onto the side there. Kevin San Diego going to pick up the position, move Barrios where he started back down to third.
Yeah, but the problem is, look with the gap between Ataconis and San Diego, like 1.5 seconds. That is a lot for Ataconis to try to, you know, navigate throughout this race and be safe with it. Of course, we have maybe some pit stops at a certain point in this race, but right now, Ataconis, like with the race in his hands, and the result can be great for him at the end of these 23 minutes.
Yeah, and here we see Andrew Sharp coming down into pit lane. Now, I don't think this is a scheduled stop. This is a little bit early here. Remember, this is a 35-minute race. We normally see pit stops taking place between about the 20-minute to about the 10-minute mark. But clearly there, it looks like he's okay, and that's also going to be Farewell coming down into pit lane. So maybe some drivers here just opting for a little bit of a short opening stint here, try to get themselves out into some clean air and maybe run some good laps from here on out.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that undercut is actually going to work for Farrell and also Sharp over here, given the fact they had some slight loss of performance midway through the first few laps of this race, dropped back a few positions, especially for Farrell, especially given the fact he had that mishap during the corkscrew. I think that is a good alternate strategy, but he cannot run with a lot of guys that are on paper slower than them and keep fighting for position. They need to be fast and consistent every single lap.
Yeah, they really and truly do. As we take a look here at another battle, this is the battle for 7th place between Tabler and Aaron Law. This one certainly has not dissipated by any stretch of the imagination. Tabler looking like he's going to be able to hold off a little bit of a better run there down through turn 10. That's going to grow the gap to about 0.6 of a second. But I like the pressure that I'm seeing here from Aaron Law. It has been consistent, it has been constant, and sometimes that's all you need to be able to make the driver in front of you make a mistake.
Yeah, but apparently Law just breaking away in the toe a little bit and not going to be able to make any moves. Everybody just following to like a draft train of sorts, trying to maximize the fuel efficiency out of this car, which is works like the Mazda a little bit. You can kind of lift and coast or clutch and coast this car a little bit, coming into some of the corners and be effective with it. That's the difference between the only difference is like aerodynamical for these cars, and apparently the GR86 is slightly faster than the Mazda at a few spots. But anyway, here goes another battle on the track between Zacklin and Chamberlain for 23rd, and good battle, everybody. Just keeping it respectful, and the number 87 breaking away a little bit.
Yeah, starting to break away a little bit. There is Zacklin doing a good job of keeping Buddy Chamberlain behind him, but we've got to check back in on the battle for P2 right now, because after serving that slowdown penalty, Mariano Barrios is certainly not going anywhere. He's got the gap down to 0.3 of a second between himself and Kevin Sandiego, trying to apply pressure here down into turn 11. Whoa, swooping around the outside there. That looked to be one of the chases, sending a good move on the number 79 machine. I'm not sure if that is a car that is a lap down. Looks like a little bit of an issue here coming down into the corkscrew for Tabler.
Yeah, let's look at the replay right here as he breaks into the corkscrew. Looks like he breaks a little bit deeper than usual. Comes back around, completely loses the rear end and just have to keep it straight, and comes back into the track slightly dangerously, but comes back safe nevertheless, and lost about 2-3 spots in the process.
Yeah, lost that, and by the way, that was Michael Chase that was able to get that move done on Tabler. Tabler now having to deal with an attack from Nathan Miller from behind, so a little bit of back and forth here. Just goes to show you, you make one little mistake on this circuit, and it is going to pay for the entire way around. Cocking 2 wheels up into the air, there was Tabler. He is certainly pushing here at this point. That is not to be denied. Not seeing any other drivers opting to come down into pit lane. Looks like the common way of thinking about it is we are about to hit race halfway distance here. It tends to be run these fuel tanks dry and see how long you can go on them.
Yeah, for lead gaps, I think this is the most obvious strategy you can go on, unless you are in like between 4 or 5 cars all together and fighting themselves, and see if the different strategy is going to work out. As you can see now, gap between Atacanas and San Diego right around the second, was under a second on the previous lap, and right at the beginning. Now you can see now 0.8 of a second. There is some commitment for San Diego on that 88 car to get closer to Atacanas and maybe try to re-engage the fuel saving a little bit, just try to save those point liters of fuel that might make a difference on the pit stop.
Yeah, might make that big difference, and that's certainly what we're going to be keeping our eyes on. By the way, Jonathan Dam, we've been a little bit disparaging of him here, losing those positions from his second place start. Dam just set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:35.41. So clearly here, the driver of the 54 starting to get that rhythm built back in underneath him and starting to push ahead here at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. He's still within the draft of Barrios, right about a 0.9 of a second of Barrios. So the draft is aiding the number 54 a little bit, and you can see there's also a gap to Farrell, which Farrell cannot close down because he's kind of like busy trying to keep himself constant towards Lordy, which wants his first top 5 in the season here. So let's see what Dam has still in the bag over here to try to pull out his first top 3 in the season.
Oh,
yeah, that was scary.
Yeah, flirting with disaster there, getting that right rear tire out into the dirt at the exit of turn 6. And that did cost him just about a 1/10.5 worth of time. We keep our eyes focused on the battle, though, between Kevin Sandiego and Mariano Barrios here as they work their way down the hill through the rainy curve. Crucially here, they're still only about a second behind Kevin Sandiego, and I think part of that is Barrios runs wide, pushed it just a little bit too hard coming down into turn 10, and that's going to cost him some time.
Yeah, it's gonna basically nearly cost him a full second on Kevin San Diego. You can see the gap was about 1.3, increased to 1.9, just with that mishap from Barrios into the second to last corner. It's a tricky corner, you know, because the one thing you really don't want to be doing is hitting this red sausage curb, because it bounces off the car. It can even break the suspension a little bit, so you have to be mindful about that. As we see now, Chase trying to fend off Tabler. Tabler going to the outside here. DJ, I don't think that outside move works, but he can try.
Oh, well, he's going to think about the inside move there with a little bit of a crossover coming down into the Andretti hairpin, but that's not going to play out for the number 79, and he is going to be stuck looking behind, looking at the rear end there of the number 34 of Michael Chase for at least another couple of corners here. Ooh, big wiggle there, though, for Tabler, as he's going to try to be able to get by Chase. Sweeps around the outside. I certainly didn't see that one coming. Just goes to show you persistence does pay off for Dakota Tabler.
And look at Miller, also not far behind as well, just trying to, you know, pick up anything whatsoever from these two scrapping off right in front of them. But he's looking for any space to try to work with, and he's finding nothing so far, because either it's like the 34 wants to attack, but at the same time you have to defend constantly every single second. Look now.
Yeah, and there's another little bit of a look from Miller coming down into the corkscrew. That's going to give him a little bit of a wider line, and just as I suspected, he's going to be able to carry a little bit more momentum on corner exit coming down through the rainy curve. We tick down under 16 minutes to go, and this battle here for P9, very, very electric out on track. All drivers able to keep things within the lines there on the exit of turn 10. That hasn't always been the case, so good to see that there from those drivers. We don't have to go to it, but just up at the front of the field, by the way, San Diego starting to reel in Ataconis here now that he doesn't have to worry about Barrios behind him. But this battle, the one to definitely watch here, is Miller going to jink to the inside here, coming down through turn 1. The battle is on between himself and Michael Chase. Miller recognizes an opportunity, tries to push Michael Chase a little bit wide, and he's got the move done.
Well done by Miller. You found the gap to work with into the straight line, going to the Andretti hairpin, and the 34 just give him enough room, you know, just, you know, you cannot defend towards the outside, so minimize the damage, and that's what he did, and still within the toe of Dakota Tabler right in front of them, and still able to work with something over here. Top 10 not far off for Chase. He can still, of course, pun not intended, chase this top 10 if he so wants to be of his, of course, but we still have to deal with the pit stops coming up shortly.
Yes, we do, as we are over the halfway mark here, about 20 minutes down in this race, about 14 and a half minutes left to go, and those pit stops still crucial for the majority of the field. We've only seen Bonaro, Farewell, and Sharp decide to take their pit stops here at this point. Wouldn't be surprised in the next 2 or 3 laps if we see the majority of the field come on down into the pits. Right now, though, Michael Chase trying to hold in behind Nathan Miller up ahead of him. Miller having a good day, up 4 positions, but not nearly as impressive as the number 47, who is just 2 or 3 positions up the road from them. That is Aaron Law. Law is up 11 spots, and on a track where it is notoriously difficult to pass on, I've got to say that is a very impressive run from the 47.
Absolutely, we have to commend that absolutely for Law. I think his best position, of course, round 1 got a 6th place in the race, and then round 2 4th place. So just keeping that consistency, and of course qualifying not the best for Law, but always making up ground on these races from the mistakes from the other drivers. You know, one thing that is always important, you don't have to be the fastest, but if you keep that thing on the track, all 4 tires in the tarmac into the black stuff, sometimes that works wonders for you. I'm a witness to this many times.
You and me both. I think I picked up the majority of my best finishes on iRacing as a result of others' misfortune in front of me. But I'll tell you what's here, Dakota Tabler, who we continue to watch, definitely in the wars out here today. But we're going to take a look here up at the front of the field right now. Justin Ataconis, a little bit of a wide run there, coming down off the hill through turn 9. Now as they pilot those cars, again, a little bit of a wide run. He is flirting with disaster here, Lorenzo.
Absolutely, somehow, someway, just kept that thing on the track, ran wide into the last corner. That is going to open up the door for San Diego to maybe ride the draft into the Andretti hairpin. I don't think he's going to be able to make a move, but lurking not far behind, 1.5 seconds behind San Diego is Barrios. So instead of a two-way fight, we can quickly have a three-way fight before they come into the pit stop. That's not what they want.
No, it certainly is not. You do not want to have those drivers there, and I wonder here if we see maybe a little bit of aggression from Kevin San Diego, if that's going to be a little bit of an indication that drivers are ready to come down into pit lane. But speaking of that, Michael Chase and Kevin Bergquist both coming down into the pits here at this point. Looks like they are going to be getting their services. There we see the 64 and the 34. Also seeing Ian Cabana coming in from about 18th, 19th position as, I think that's Aaron Law, the number 47. We were singing his praises a little bit earlier. He's had a problem.
I really want to look on the replay what happened to our number 47. Maybe a slowdown from what it looks like.
Maybe a little bit of a slowdown. Going to come down here into the Andretti hairpin. Late on the brakes, and the rear end just gives out on him, Lorenzo.
Yeah, just trying to trail brake the car a little bit too much into the corner. A little bit unfortunate for the number 47, but it just proves to you, DJ Clark, that the commentators, especially with me around, is definitely true.
It is alive and kicking. I can most certainly tell you that. As here is the number 23, Austin Bartlett Chase, trying to withstand a little bit of pressure as we've got some pitters up in the front of the field. Justin Ataconis coming down into the pits, as well as Jonathan Dam and Michael Lordy.
Yeah, good for Lordy to actually mark Dam coming into the pit lane and see what the number 54 is going to do. Ataconis, I think he's going to try to be a very fast pit stop with estimate around maybe 6-7 seconds before he comes out of the pit lane. But then again, never trust the commentator's math. That was a 1.5 extra. Wondering where Barrios, Ferraro, and also Diego will fall into that category of doing something in the pit stops.
Yeah, I'm very curious as well to see how they're going to do that. And the news here, let's keep our eyes on Ataconis as they're coming out of pit lane are a few of the other drivers that we called out. That's going to be Michael Lordy, Jonathan Dam, Raymond Day, Tabler, Miller, and Austin Bartlett Chase all working their way out as well. So I'm going to be very curious, though. Good news here for Ataconis. That's what I was worried about, is if he was going to get stuck in a little bit of traffic behind Aaron Law. Doesn't look to be the case. We've got plenty of drivers here, Swindells included, working their way out of pit lane, trying to avoid any of that dreaded slower traffic there that you can see from Michael Chase coming around right now. Going to be able to get out in front of that. You do not want to be held down by any of those slower cars.
100%, you really want to be held down, and Swindells with a very good looking livery. I'm trying to remember. I think that is a Looney Tunes character, but anyway, we come back into the track, and Swindells with a very solid pit stop as now the other leaders come into their service.
Yeah, Kevin San Diego and Mariano Barrios. Yeah, I can't remember if that's Looney Tunes or if that's Hanna-Barbera there for him. We'll have to maybe do a little bit of research and get back to you on that. Looks like Aaron Law also going to be diving down into pit lane. So here is Ataconis coming through the final corner right now. I can tell you Kevin San Diego very quick in the box there. Only a 9-second pit stop, as well as Barrios with 8.4. They're actually going to be in a battle coming out of the lane here. It looks like Barrios is going to be able to hold that out as they get up to speed. It's going to be a narrower line here for those drivers on pit lane, but it's going to be a lot tighter here for them to be able to get. I think Ataconis is going to hold this out. Maybe going to make me eat my words here, though, as Barrios is going to be just behind it.
And good jump from Barrios to come from P3 into P2. A little bit of a faster pit stop. I think was about 0.4 of a second quicker than what Kevin San Diego done, because Kevin, I think, went deeper into the fuel because I think he wasted too much trying to catch up to Ataconis into like lap number 5 or 6 into this race, and now the chase is on. Three-way battle, 8 minutes to go. Can we say all gloves are out, or they're headed to a fist fight in the sand?
Yeah, I think they certainly are here at this point. A little bit of a wide run there for Barrios and San Diego, though, as they came through the corner. They're really pushing here at this point, Lorenzo. I think I got to agree with you. All gloves are off. This is going to be an absolute fight.
Yeah, Barrios 7 seconds into pit stop. I estimated to be much quicker, to be less quicker than this, about 8, maybe 8.3. But I'll be damned, that impressed me a lot. Damn 12 seconds though, something might have happened to him though.
Yeah, that could have been a little bit of a long stop there for him. 12.3 was what's showing up on my screen here at this point, so that's not exactly the time you want to see. Although I can tell you that Kevin Sandiego here has been able to get a good little bit of a run, potentially starting to close the gap under 0.5 of a second as they dive down into turn 1 and turn 2. They have been able to work their way by the lap traffic of William Sullivan, the number 43 machine, who is running in 28th position. He got out of the way for your leaders, so no problems there. Some good sportsmanship being shown, and the next driver they're going to have to worry about is Buddy Chamberlain, who sits about 13 seconds up the road. I think this is going to be clean sailing for him.
Yeah, I don't think anything will happen to these 3 leaders, the top 3, in terms of catching to the back markers, unless the delta between the back marker and the leader is just too low. And Paul, you were saying that my point has been completely thwarted.
Yeah, that was Buddy Chamberlain. Oh, that's your leader. That's Adakonis getting it wrong, coming up through turn 6. He's off and into the barriers.
Oh no, and I think he has damage on his wheel, maybe suspension damage on that car. Look at the right side, it is bent, and from what it looks like, his steering is also bent as well. And you have about 4 or 5 laps to actually make it through. I don't think he has enough to make it towards the end, though. Let's look at the replay.
I think this is just a simple matter of getting it wrong through turn 6.
Oh, no.
Yep, just caught the curbs there, and that is the downfall of Justin Adakonis. Let's take another look at it here. Lorenzo just hits that big sausage curb. You talked about that earlier on in the broadcast.
Yeah, that sausage curb is the equivalent of death around this track. Even in the Mazdas is equivalent of death. The Mazdas can take that curb a little bit more than the GR86, but it is unfortunate to see the leader of this race being hampered with such a foul mistake. But it happens. That's just racing, as we see Lordy against Farrell.
Yeah, Lordy against Farrell here. This could very well prove to be what ends up being the battle for the final podium position if that damage is relatively terminal here for Justin Adakonis. We will have to wait and find out to see how much longer he can be able to nurse that car around. He has lost a whopping 5 seconds, though, up to Barrios and Sandiego. But this battle here, Farrell and Lordy, looks like Lordy dropped back just a little bit on those last couple of corners, and he's going to have to try to pull it back in here if he wants to have a hope to be able to close down on the number 19.
Yeah, from what it looked like when I saw in the screen, Lordy had a little bit of a skid on the exit of turn number 3, maybe catch too much sand into the exit of turn number 3 and reaccelerated too fast. The car just skidded off into the inside portion of the track, and that's why he might have lost about 3/4 of a second in comparison to Farrell, but still within the draft. But I don't think he's going to have time enough to close the gap to Farrell and then maybe battle for something, and we see another slow car into the track.
Yeah, that was Matthew Zagalin there who caught things wrong coming down through the corners. It looks like particularly coming down into turn 10, just caught it wrong, as now he's going to try to be able to move his way back up forward. And oh, is that Adakonis slow? Oh my goodness, who is that slowing down to a break? That's Zagalin, excuse me, that is Zagalin. So Adakonis is able to keep out on track, but Zagalin there forced to call it a day.
Yeah, and I think one more car slow as well as we had Adakonis. Really want to look on if we can get on the cockpit, on the struggles that he's probably having around the car, trying to navigate through these corners. Really want to see the offset of this wheel. Doesn't look like it is fully offset, but definitely there is some sort of damage that is impeding his front end grip to perform like he probably wants it to grip.
Yeah, it looks like there's just a slight bit off there. It's just barely pointing to the right there for him, unfortunately, as now he's going to have to work his way through some lap traffic. That was a hairy situation for Adakonis, being able to get by Malcolm Foster there, I do believe, as this is Farrell a little bit farther back down in the field right now, trying to work his way forward past a little bit of that lap traffic as well. He's going to be able to navigate it as more lap traffic. Oh, that is getting close for Adakonis.
Yeah, no, actually, I think that was Lordy that got close into one of the back markers right there. I honestly thought that Lordy was actually going to be sent off back to to Los Angeles or something from what it looked like, but it stayed safe nevertheless.
And another big dive down to the inside there for the number 79 machine. That's the 19 machine, excuse me. Those numbers looking a little bit familiar, or looking similar, as Farrell able to get that move down to the inside, moving his way by some lap traffic. That gets him up into 4th place, holding down to that position, buys him a little bit of time between himself and Michael Lordy here at this point. And the gap to Ataconis only about 2.3 seconds, but with 2 minutes to go, I think that may be a little bit of a tall order.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Unless something really, really bad happens and you can actually get really close towards Ataconis and maybe contend for position, he would be about, he would need to be at least a half a second slower on the lap. And Ataconis, despite the damage, still being consistent with his laps. I think he just the first few laps just try to get the grip up and erase the sand that might have been, accrued into his tires. Was enough to have that huge gap broken away, as San Diego might actually contend for the race going into the final lap. It's close.
Yeah, it's very close indeed, as this is Lordy on your screen right there, who sits about 1.1 seconds behind Patrick Farrell and trying to be able to close in on that gap. Taking a little bit too much of the entry into the corkscrew there, but able to keep things nice and clean in that 994 machine. And Lorenzo, you hit the nail on the head as the leaders now come through the final corner for what we believe to be the penultimate time. The white flag will fly here for Barrios and San Diego, and this battle looks to be pretty intense, only about 0.3 of a second separating the two.
Yeah, Barney, the flagman, just waving the yellow flag, the white flag for everybody. San Diego trying to go on the outside, cover on the inside already by Barrios, as he commits a little bit of time loss into the first few corners and allows San Diego to come in. And we can see any move done in the next few corners right here, but where does he make it?
Well, I think at this point, he has got to hope for a little bit of a problem. Now, that's Josh Kimball right up the road from him. That could be a little bit of a problem. That could potentially be the pick here that Kevin San Diego is waiting to see. Kimball giving some instructions on what he is going to do to be able to get out of the way here. So, again, some good sportsmanship being shown there with the back markers. There is Kimball just getting onto the binders, letting these two continue on. And this battle now only 0.2 of a second as they come through turn 6 and work their way towards the corkscrew.
Oh my God.
That was as close could be, and here comes San Diego. He's going to look around the outside. Are we going to see a repeat here of Zanardi potentially? He tries to go down into the corkscrew. That doesn't play itself out. He's still forced to stay behind Mariano Barrios. Now he's going to look into the inside here into the rainy curve. Somehow keeps it together. No contact there between the two, but that's going to be out San Diego around the long way of turn 10. He's going to sweep around the outside, somehow able to get that move done. Does Barrios have any response here at this point? They come down into the corner, the final corner, get onto the loud pedal. It's going to be a draft race here to the line, but I don't think it's going to play itself out. Kevin San Diego will take victory here at Laguna Seca.
What a move. What a move from San Diego coming into the final corners right here. The commitment out of him, just trying to seal the deal into the second last corner where everything can go south. What a move.
Absolutely incredible there. Great stuff from him. We focus a little bit farther back in the field. This is Richard Swindells running in at 9th place, holding off Michael Chase here at this moment. And it looks like that's going to finish relatively easily here for them. I did see Andrew Venaros had a little bit of a problem way back down in the order. The number 38 machine getting into a little bit of contact there, coming down through the corkscrew. That's going to slow his progression up through the field, unfortunately. As we wait for the last of these drivers to cross over, here is the replay. That is one of the YS Motorsport cars, and that's a pretty egregious hit there.
Yeah, that is a slam dunk penalty. I'm just wondering who made that contact. Could have been Sharp, I think, on the inside right there, but we need to look on a certain angle as here comes Venaro, certainly frustrated into the finish line, and but that doesn't take away from what a battle we saw on these final corners over here for the win of this race. I think this might have been one of the cleanest moves I ever seen around Laguna Seca, regardless of cars I've broadcasted or even raced on.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there about that. An absolutely clean move and fantastic to see. Let's go ahead and jump over to our final finishing order here from Laguna Seca. As we hooted and hollered about, it was Kevin Sandiego able to take that victory over Barrios and Ataconis, having to settle for third place. Patrick Farrell was in P4, followed by Michael Lorty, with Jonathan Dam falling down into P6 from starting in second. Aaron Law was seventh, followed by Tabler, Swindell, and Chase to round out your top 10. Then in 11th place, it was Andrew Sharp, followed by Austin Bartlett. Chase. Brian Sabaleski was in 13th, with Rob Campbell and Kevin Berquist in 15th. 16th was Baron Glover, followed by Matthew Wegenar, with Nathan Miller, Ian Cabana, and Gerard Farewell rounding out your top 20. 21st was Anthony Doring, and Andrew Venaro was the last driver on the lead lap, with Kimball, Chamberlain, Foster, and Sullivan all a lap down. Then we get into some drivers here who ran into some trouble. Zachalin, Day, Robitaille, and Kwok Nin. But we are sitting here in the interview booth ready to talk to your race leader, or race winner rather, Kevin Sandiego. And Kevin, I've got to start at the end. Talk to me about that move on the last lap. That was spectacular.
Yeah, thanks, DJ. That was a lot of fun. Really good racing for Mariano. That was an awesome last lap there. You know, I was trying to get close enough to him, and I kept making small mistakes, and it didn't come until the last couple of corners, or few corners, that I was able to actually pull that move, and luckily was able to make it stick. So it was a pretty exciting end there. I was definitely sweating by the time I crossed the finish line, but great race. You know, everybody did a good job, kept it clean, super fun.
Well, super fun to watch, I can tell you that. We had an absolute blast with it. But I wanted to ask you a little bit. At the beginning of the race, it seemed like you three were kind of interchangeable there, with you, Justin, and Mariano. What was your strategy at that point? Were you committed to maybe a little bit of a hold back and wait position, or were you on full attack there?
To be honest, I joined practice really late. I was dealing with real life car problems all day, so really didn't get a chance to do much warming up. So I was just trying to keep it together, not get into these guys, try to find some pace, try to figure out the line, just remember what I was supposed to be doing in this car on this track, because I'd been away over the weekend, and then away from the rig, at least the last 4 or 5 days. So it was good to get in there, good to have a good finish. I'm glad I didn't kill anybody. I was kind of worried about that, but great racing.
Well, great racing indeed. We head out next time to Summit Point, though. Sort of another semi-club style circuit here in terms of racing. How do you think that'll take to the GR86s?
You know, I think it'll be fun. The challenge with Summit is that it's extremely bumpy, and these cars are not very good over the bumps unless they fix something with the setup and the way that they're configured. They really hate bumps. I mean, it's funny. We drove the F3 cars over at in France last week along with these, and the F3 cars over the curbing were much happier than these things. And so it just makes me think that Summit Point, that's like a back road that hasn't been paved in 20 years type of track. And so there's a ton of bumps, there's a ton of mid corner places where the cars are going to get upset, and I think the GR is going to be really handful there for sure. So we'll see how it goes. I haven't been on Summit Point for a long time, so I'll have to get some laps in this week and see how it goes.
Well, we're excited to see it, and we're taking feverish notes there about those bumps. But Kevin, who makes this possible? Who'd you like to thank today?
Yeah, definitely. All my gear providers, SimiCube, Cube Controls, Husingfeld, they make great gear, and obviously advanced sim racing and the chassis that I use really keeps everything stiff and together, and so I'm able to concentrate on driving instead of holding myself in place. So that makes a big difference, and definitely shout out to my family. They're always watching, so glad I was able to put on a good show tonight.
Well, we're glad as well. Kevin, congratulations. We'll see you next week.
Sounds great. Take care, guys. See ya.
All right, that was your victor here, Kevin Sandiego. And now I believe, Lorenzo, you've been able to catch up with P2 Mariano Barrios.
Absolutely, Mariano, man. Congratulations to P2. I know you came a little bit bitter at the end of this race, but I think you are somewhat exhilarated by this battle you had with Kevin.
Yeah, it is kind of bittersweet. I'm really happy with P2, but it does hurt to have the win snatched away from you with 3 corners to go. But, I mean, fair play to Kevin. That was really, really good overtake. He played it smart there, and it was just a really fun race.
Right on. And, man, I have to ask, because I think this is a question that a DJ has asked. How is the strategy going to a race like this? Because it differs from the Mazdas and from other cars. So, were you attacking or were you conservative a few points when you, Kevin, and also the Konas were like switching positions and switching places and just bumping around the track?
You know, I have to say my primary strategy was just to stay on track, which didn't come to fruition a lot of the time, but it still worked for the most part. And then as far as saving gas, I mean, I could whenever I had the chance, but this wasn't kind of like Magny-Cours where you had these huge fuel saving opportunities. So I saved when I could, but really I was just finding any opportunities I could whenever they presented themselves.
Perfect. And man, before we let you go and see you next week, coming into Summit Point, which is going to be a different race from what I take. Anybody want to thank from your camp at the number 17 and providing any help or support?
Well, my wife, she always watches the races, so huge shout out to her for sticking with this crazy hobby, and looking forward to next week. Thanks for everything, guys.
I mean, take a good break, and we'll see you next week, Mariano.
See ya.
Right, that was Mariano Barrios there, your second place finisher. And as we said, we will be back next week for some more fantastic GR86 action live from Summit Point. But fear not, everyone. The racing action is not yet over for tonight because we head over across the Atlantic to Magny-Cours. Now, we saw the GR86s take their hands last time out at this French circuit, Lorenzo, but this time we've got the GT4s around here, and I think this is going to be a very fascinating race to see how these multiple different makes of cars are going to handle to what is quickly earning a reputation as one of the trickier circuits on the iRacing calendar.
Yeah, because it is highly technical. You know, that corner, that number one corner, it's kind of unique. You know, you don't see open hand corners and it has such a high radius and a mid to high speed, and then you attack into a braking zone and it free flows into the right hand side. So it's a weird track. It's kind of unique in terms of how it grew, ebbs and flows, but it's gonna be quite interesting to see how these GT4 cars will tackle, given the fact that many of these guys went to Daytona, ran their award to Daytona, and now are coming back over here to see how practiced they are.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of pretty apparent differences there, we head from Magny-Cours out to Mount Panorama next time out, then to Fuji, Brands Hatch, Tsukuba, Sebring, the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, and we end the season again at Road America. So a very, very great mix of cars or tracks here to be able to bring us in to the end of the season. I am very much looking forward to seeing what the rest of the season will offer. We also do have a championship here in this GT4 series, so let's go ahead and bring you to that. Is Simon Thoreau up at the top of the standings here with 63 points. John Bodefer not too far behind him, only 4 points back, and only about 6 points back is Adam Brockway, Michael Diaz, and Miguel Vigo, all certainly within striking distance there. Keith Bonilla looking to be pretty good as well. Vincent Trepanier, Rai Saputo, Lockwood, and Marlon McMullen round out your top 10. Very, very close battles here as we are only 2 rounds down in this series, and so plenty of more of the sorting around here for us to find. We also do have a teams championship in this GT4 series. We'll bring you those points here in a second, as that battle is a little bit more spaced out up at the top, but not nearly as close as it was here and closely contested for the Drivers' Championship here. But there you can see what that is. Drivers currently headed out on track right now for a 10-minute 4-lap solo qualifying session here, and there we can see it. It is Alpine Stars Geodesic McLaren up at the top of the charts. Precision Racing Esports, number 11, sits about 13 points back from them. Then it's YS Motorsports Black, who's in a pretty close battle there for third with Unit Sim Sports and Alpine Stars Geodesic Mercedes. Then it's YS Motorsports Gold, who round out the top 6. A little ways back from them, it is Delta Sport, who is tied with Race Factory, then Precision Racing Esports, number 112, and Can-Am Racing round out your top top 10. But as I said, Lorenzo, we are headed out for qualifying right now. And, well, a little bit like we saw in Laguna Seca, this is a track that it's a little bit difficult to pass on. So I've got to think here qualifying is going to be a pretty significant importance here for these drivers.
I think more so than the GR86 when we saw this last week, right? Because it has a higher difficulty because they're faster cars. They have more downforce to try to negotiate around the track. So because you have corners like this one we're seeing on screen, which is a big breaking point, but at the same time it's so easy for you to miss the entry of that braking, so you can cause some problems and lose time in the process. So it's going to be a track that I think for those who wants to make overtakes will demand a lot of patience, especially if you find themselves in a 5 or 6 car train, try to make moves, and the others are trying to do the same as well.
Yeah, very much so. We saw some draft trains starting to be formed last time out. I think we could see a little bit of that similar situation happening here today, as it looks like drivers are out on track getting their first lap down here as we take a look at the number 66 machine as he works his way around one of the BMWs here. Now, I've got to think the BMW could be a little bit of a disadvantage here today as we watch Alex Bergstrom for YS SimSport Gold coming down into that hairpin that you talked about, that of course being the Adelaide hairpin, as this track is very quickly developing a reputation for high entry curbs into the corner, and that really throwing off drivers, and the BMW known as not exactly having the most compliant suspension.
No, it's not. That's why if you got to set up, you got to just to be very honest, to keep the flow of the car and not ensure that the TCR kicks in. As you can see, Patrick Bachelard now for SR by Abel, Versa versus Abel, going around the second sector, going to the final sector itself, and you can see the difficulties that are around that car for you to try to perfect line and maximize your time. But I'm hopeful for Bergstrom to get a really good time, because from what we know, right, DJ, a race spot sticker in the front, especially laid out like that, usually gives you 0.3 of a second per lap down on the Delta.
Yeah, exactly. As we check in here on Justin Ream, one of those geodesic drivers that we talked about, the number 912, trying to see what he is able to get. We've got some time starting to work their way onto the boards right now. It's Simon Thoreau up at the top of the charts with a 145.949. Brockway, Bonilla, Young, and Hudson as Michael Diaz rockets his way up into P2, now P3, courtesy of Vincent Trepanier in the number 87 machine. That's a good run there for the Unit SimSports Alpha driver. Going to be very pleased with that. Frankie Arfello, Nicholas Rice-Saputo up into 6th and 7th respectively. These times are absolutely coming in fast and furious.
No, absolutely. As we see more cars in the track, as we see also Abner Costa, the 346.394 that puts him in 6th place, actually 7th place, because Belmont now on the top of the standings, and we saw also Villa maybe going to P8 because now Belmont into the top of the standings goes also into P9th.
Yeah, he's going to find himself in P9 there, as now Justin Ream trying to be able to get a little bit more underneath, and here yet to set a time. Here comes Alessandro Torchio, as it looks like Torchio's lap did not count for the McLaren driver, so he's going to have to re-rack, restack, and try again here. Oh, that's not how you take Estoril. He's off and into the barriers there, Lorenzo.
Yeah, I think they just clipped too much grass into the exit of turn number 1 at Torchio. I don't know if he has time enough to make a second lap count, but that is a little bit unfortunate to have your first lap invalidated and the second lap just thrown into the bin right at the very first corner of the track.
Yeah, and that is not good, as here is Bergstrom, another driver that is not yet put a time down on the board as he brings his way through the Lassay chicane there. Bergstrom's going to come across with a 128.266. That'll be good enough for 8th place, as Miguel Vigo puts in a great time there. That'll bump him all the way up into P5. Here comes Justin Ream. What is the 912 able to do? Looks like they missed the apex there, just a little bit of 146.082. That'll be good enough for 7th place, but I think there could be a little bit more time time underneath Ream's car. Here comes Torchio, another one of those drivers yet to set a time as he brings the car down into Lecce.
Yeah, and basically I think he's on his out lap for the time being, as we see basically now Costa coming in into 4th place with that Aston Martin for the Precision Racing team. So let's see what Beta 4 is going to go around the corner. And from what it looks like, there's a good spread of cars. You know, you see a McLaren in P2, a Aston Martin in P3, P4, a Mercedes in P3, Belmont, I think he's driving a Mercedes as well. So a good balance out of the cars around this track, not a single clear favorite, and that's what it's been around this track. GT4 is all good.
Yeah, certainly looking like the BOP playing out very, very well. That, of course, being the balance of performance here. These drivers all having the cars tuned just right so that they generate an equal lap time around a circuit, but they'll make up that lap time in different ways around the circuit. So some may be a little bit quicker off of the line, some may be a little bit better at top speed, some may be handled a little bit better through the corners, etc., etc., etc. Here is Michael Diaz, though, in P9 right now. He's going to bring his way down into Lecce, try to see if he can pull that Aston Martin a little bit farther up in the field. I'm seeing some green sector times for him, so that could be a good call. Good lines there through the final 2 corners. As Diaz comes across the line, that's going to be better there with a 1:45.7, and that's good enough for pole position.
Ball done from the number 1, but look at Justin Ream as well. 1:45.758, so really close to that 7:15 from Diaz. Now Torchio to wrap up his lap. Oh, actually issues again for Torchio as he has to reset his lap one more time. Acosta now into P3.
Yeah, and it looks like Torchio and Desjardins are the only two who have not been able to set a time. Does Belmont have a response? Yes, Nicholas does. A 1:45.556. That is going to be a 1/10.5 better than Diaz, and that is going to put him back up into the top position. Here is Simon Thoreau, currently in 5th place right now, as he brings his way down through that tricky couple of corners there. Coming back now onto one of the longer straightaways here. Thoreau trying to see if he's able to move his way up from that P5 position. He's got about 1.5 minutes here to put a good time on the board.
It's just going to be on the nick of time from what it looks like. A little bit of a cleaner line, doesn't go all the way to the green astroturf for the Thoreau right here. Just 3 corners to go, and he needs to get these clean. From what it looks like, I don't think it's going to be a massive improvement, but if it is, it's going to be by tiny fractions of a second.
Yeah, and sometimes those tiny fractions could be enough to move him up in the order. He's only about 38 thousandths of a second off of Justin Ream in front of him. Is this going to be an improvement? It is, and that's good enough for P2.
Wow, wow, wow.
Wow, 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 indeed, as here comes the number 1 of Michael Diaz. Ooh, that was a little bit aggressive there with the curbing. A 1:45.8. That doesn't look like that'll be an improvement there for the Precision Racing Esports driver, and indeed, he's going to find himself dumped down the order a little bit more, as John Bodefer is going to be able to put in a time that it's good enough for P2, and there you can see the Geodesic Alpine Stars driver taking a rest. Now your pole sitter, Nicholas Belmont, coming down into one of the 3 hairpins on this circuit. I believe that's Chateau d'Eau that he's able to pilot through. No, excuse me, that is Lecce, as Belmont trying to improve a little bit here. Does look like that's going to be a better time, and Belmont able to stretch that lead at the front of the field with 5 seconds left.
Still ridiculously close between every single individual, as we see the number 4 trying to do his lap, but time runs out. We got our grid over here, Mr. DJ Clark. I'll let you take it away.
All right, well, it's going to be Nicholas Belmont up at the top of the charts, but only by an advantage of a couple of hundredths of a second. As you said, Lorenzo, not a lot to separate out those drivers whatsoever. Then it's going to be John Bodefer in P2. Simon Thoreau and Michael Diaz line up in the 2nd row, followed by Justin Ream and Abner Acosta. Behind them, it'll be Vincent Trepanier, followed by Adam Brockway, with Miguel Vigo and Nicholas Riceputo Lorenzo in P10. Keith Bonilla lines up 11th with Aiden Young to his outside in P12. P13 will be Alex Bergstrom, followed by Carlos Villa with Alex May and Arnaud Genet in 16th. Frankie Arvelo will be 17th, followed by Darren Rutherford in 18th. Then it's Jose Lockwood and Chris Hudson in P20. Patrick Bachelard will be P21 with Marlon McMullen in 22nd. 23rd is Francis Castillo Romero and Tommy Brisson in 24th. 25th is David Van Roy, followed by Alessandro Torchio, then Tony Costello and Philippe Mignon in 28th. 29th is Kevin Ayers, and Marc-Andre Desjardins will start to his outside in P30. Then it's Joe Pagruo there in 31st, J.S. Marshall in 32nd, Mike Stevenson and Drew Lidke. Jeffrey Seabach will line up in 35th, followed by Brian Hoskins in 36th, and that will round out your grid here today. Now, crucial to keep in mind, it is a little bit toasty out on the track right now, about 91 degrees Fahrenheit as we wait basically for John Bodeford to get on the grid here, as a couple other drivers as well waiting for them. They've got about 20 seconds, but 91 degrees track temperature right now. That's going to be good news for these drivers. That's right about in that Goldilocks zone that we like to talk about here, Lorenzo, and so that means these tires are going to come up to temperature relatively early.
Yeah, and they're not gonna basically overheat around the track. It is not the, and also if you look, there's a partially mostly cloudy, because you had that mostly cloudy. You don't have the influence of the sun just beaming down on the track and then just making the tires are completely scrubbed off, as they're gonna be led by Benny the pace car, man. And this is what I like, a chill race, but in a track like this, everything can happen. That was a very close qualifying. Really willing to see how these guys outside of the top 10, into P7 to P10, how aggressive they go out of the line, because this is kind of like similar to what we saw right now at Laguna Seca. Pace car comes in. You have the chicane, leader controls, and I think right coming out of the chicane, you're gonna see basically the leader flooring that car off to try to break away as best as he can from Justin Reed.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I think we're going to see Belmont trying to be able to get on that loud pedal as quickly as possible as they work their way down the long straightaway that leads into Adelaide Hairpin. This is, from what we've seen, really and truly been pretty much the prime overtaking opportunity on the circuit. This is where they want to be able to try to get that move done, if at all possible. As the rest of the circuit, yes, there are some heavy braking zones, but they just don't seem to really offer up as good of a move here as it is down in Adelaide.
No, absolutely not. After you get out of the hairpin, I think it becomes more of a flowing track of sorts. Of course, you have some minor elevations, and because of the bumps, it makes it a little bit harder for you to try to negotiate his pen. Also negotiating with them turtle curves as well. Makes also sausage curves rather makes also a slight challenge, but it's still flat track throughout until you go into the final sector. And let me just be very honest, I used to do this with the Formula 1 cars back into the old days, like Grand Prix 1 and 2. Let me just tell you something, and it might be a no-bias opinion. I used to hate this track. It's like a love relationship into this track. If you get the grooves around this track, it's phenomenal, but if you cannot get along with this track, it can be a long day for you.
Yeah, it certainly can. You've got to find the groove as well as possible. Try to be able to get that rhythm, get that flow, and get it as quickly as you can, because there are so many portions around this track that can really and truly throw you off if you are not careful. Those big inside sausage curbs, like you mentioned, they are going to bite on these drivers, especially considering that these GT4s aren't necessarily as tightly sprung. They're a little bit more tightly sprung than some of the other cars, but a little bit better off.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and as we see through the final corners, we're going to see Belmont just flooring it out, I think, as soon as he probably wants it to go. And we see how they're going to basically go maybe two abreast, one abreast into the train and all the way down to the hairpin. And we got our first few laps going for the GT4 series at PRL.
Yes, we do, as drivers make their way down into Lassay. And here we go. Nicholas Belmont in that white number 40 Mercedes going to lead us to the green. Almost a little bit of bumping and banging there coming through Lassay. And you called it, Lorenzo, immediately onto the loud pedal goes Nicholas Belmont as there goes the green. And we are racing here in France. It looks like Bodefer's going to try to be able to charge a little bit around the outside, trying to see what they are able to do here as they're going to fan themselves down into single file order for the top 5 or so. And we've had a car around in the back. That's the number 21 of Darren Rutherford getting things wrong.
Yeah, I saw that as soon as it went green into this race, and really want to look later what happened to this, but now let's look into Ream, just trying to ride that draft out of the Mercedes, coming to the hairpin, how aggressive he wants to be and how committed he wants to be on the hairpin, braking to try to make that overtake.
And it looks like there in the back, Justin Ream's going to try to make the move down to the inside of the Aston Martin of Michael Diaz. Lots of drivers trying to gain positions there through the Adelaide hairpin, but not a lot of them successful here at this point. It continues to be Belmont, Bodefer, Thoreau, Diaz, and Ream in your top 5. And it looks like we've got another slow driver there in the back. That's Gio Pagurio there that has had a little bit of a problem. Let's take a look here as exactly what happened coming down into Lassay. There you see, I believe that was the cars that we saw spinning out in the background earlier on. Lots of drivers just calling things wrong there up into the hairpin, or up into the first corner. That's the 21 of Rutherford. Looks like he has been able to regain some spots here at this point. Bachelard looking like they got things wrong. Whoa, that was lucky.
Yeah, but not so lucky in the back as we see cars coming out and they're just rejoining into the track and not be able to hold their brakes. But look at this rejoin as well. Luckily for them, no major dramas as we keep going through this race. And Bodefer just aggressive on the car. Ream, I think, lost some ground towards his competitors, but still that McLaren looking feisty against those two Mercedes-Benz. And as we round out the first lap, Belmont, I wouldn't say fully pressured so far towards the geodesic McLaren.
No, I'd have to agree with you there. Belmont, there was a little bit of a look going down into Adelaide, but that was about it. Now I'm going to have my eyes on Simon Thoreau, see if there's maybe a move here from the Mercedes as they get up to top speed here, working their way through Gulf right now, lining up for the corner. A little bit of a poke to the inside for John Bodefer, but he's going to keep it in line. I saw a defensive line in the back there from Michael Diaz, trying to prevent any attack there from Justin Ream. Ream has been able to get by Abner Acosta, so he's going to be able to hold on to that 5th place position where he started. Not a lot of changes up here in the top 6. They're all exactly where they started this race, but still very close racing here from the top 10.
Yeah, I think they're trying to play 5D chance against each other, trying to maximize a little bit of the fuel efficiency, see if they can go one more lap. I think one good thing around here is going that lap extra so you can get an overcut. And because the problem is trying to undercut over here, you're relying on a lot of luck in this drive, because you need to find the grooves and you find the usually slower cars in front of you, and you might be finding yourself into positions that you really don't want to be selling yourself in, and by the time you realize you lost the time that you really wanted to gain on the pit stop. So looking forward to see who does that tactic and see if it pays off at the end of things. But for my end, go for the overcut, and I think that's the blueprint for every single individual in this race.
Ooh. That was a big dive to the inside there from Adam Brockway, and Brockway gets it wrong there coming through Lassay, somehow able to gather the car back up under him. But I'll tell you what, Vincent Trepanier smells some blood in the water, as does Miguel Vigo, as he's now going to try to work his way forward, diving down to the inside on the ASR by Able Esports Porsche, and he's going to get that move done. Look at that following on through. Keith Bonilla as well there. The two Mercedes trying to put that Porsche to shame here as they go around the long way of Estoril, and it looks like there that the 87's barely going to be able to hold on to that, and indeed, it does look like Bonilla's going to have to wait for another run.
Yeah, but you can see there will be something coming around on the Adelaide hairpin from what it looks like to be Trepanier. A little bit of door bang right here, the bumper to bumper bang as well. Everybody just keeping one abreast, but the confusion is still going on around there.
Yes, it certainly is. Everybody trying to sort themselves out into line here. The battle continuing on. Oh, big slip up there for the Mercedes of Bonilla. He was very lucky that he was able to keep that pointed the right way. I thought for sure that car was going to be pointed the wrong way around, but now he's going to find himself a little bit under attack there from his teammate, it looks like, as this is really the train that's starting to form. It's Bonilla, Bergstrom, Young, RaceSpotTV, and Villa that run nose to tail.
And for one, it looked like RaceSpotTV actually managed to get a position on Young got a position on RaceSpotTV, and as the hard point by Delta Sport driver had to lay back a little bit into the gas and let the BMW go through. A little bit of complication for Villa as well, as the number 48 from the Alpine Geodesic Mercedes has to go easy on the accelerator and be part of this train of chaos as they're going to close down another lap.
Yeah, they're going to close down another lap here. Crucially, up at the front of the field, John Bodefer able to set the fastest lap of the race, so the battle for the lead may not be done yet, but this is the best action that we have out on track as we follow the number 427 BMW Levaden Young, trying to hold off an attack here from behind from RaceSpotTV, the re-attack, as it were, trying to see if there's going to be anything to be had here at this point for him. Not seem like it's going to be too close of a move coming down into the corner. Vigo maybe thinking about a little bit of a move on Adam Brockway up in front of him, but Vigo's not going to go for that move here quite yet. And this is pretty interesting here, Lorenzo. This is really the first time we haven't seen absolute domination up at the front of the field from this Alpine Stars Geodesic team. They have run 1, 2, 3 at different points over the past 2 races. We're not seeing that here today.
No, because it is a hard track for you to get a proper lap on, so I'm more surprised to see that the McLaren's got an upper edge on the Mercedes rather than the opposite, to be very honest with you here, DJ. So, but then again, I've been talking to a lot of drivers, and like I said, the balance of performance in these cars have been probably the closest one in this season. Has been probably the best out of the one-make cars, rather you would say, for the GT4 GT cars. As we're going to see a dive maybe from RaceSpotTV. No, it's not going to be enough for the hard point by Delta Sport driver to try to make that overtake, but it leaves the door open for Villa.
Leaves the door open. Does he choose to go for it here coming down into Lasay? Doesn't look like it. The 2 Mercedes are going to stay single file here as they work their way through the final hairpin. A little bit of a bobble there up in front of them from the BMW of Aiden Young. Could that open up an opportunity here for the number 69 of RaceSpotTV to be able to get that position back? It doesn't quite look like it here at this point. They're going to stay together as they go through Estoril. That very tricky left-right sequence that you talked about earlier on. RaceSpotTV able to get a good run, though. Is he going to have to dab the brakes a little bit, or is he going to be able to carry that momentum around the outside? He's going to carry that momentum here at this point. He's going to tuck in behind the BMW of Young. I think we could see a move here down into Adelaide.
Yeah, look for it. I don't think he's going to pull at the trigger, though, because I don't think it is a beneficial move for the number 69 car, because he would be just losing ground.
All right, we're going to bring back here to the number 89 machine right now as they go, working their way on through. It's the 113 here of May. This is a battle a little farther back down in the field. Janae and Arvello behind him, trying to see what they are able to do. Here is a good battle, though, farther up in the field. This is Miguel Vigo trying to work his way on Adam Brockway, Vincent Trepanier behind them. Now, Vigo definitely has the pace. We've seen the speed from him over the course of this season, and so I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to maybe get his way on by, but really, as you said here, Lorenzo, this is just such a difficult track to overtake on. I'm not sure if he's going to get that opportunity.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard one. You're going to have to work hard and maybe find the mistake of another driver for you to capitalize on a potential overtake, as we see both Betafor and Belmont just breaking away from Diaz, and also Ream not far behind, about a 1.3 seconds behind. Apparently there has been some issues with some of the drivers. I think that was one for the ASR versus Abel, as we see more issues down at the back outside of the top 10.
Yeah, more issues there coming through the Laissez chicane. That didn't play itself out for Alex May. Lost a couple of positions there, and May is now going to find himself down in 17th with Chris Hudson able to get on by him, and he's going to be staring at the back there of Chris Hudson's machine and Frankie Arvello up ahead, those two BMWs. This is going to be a very, very close run. Is immediately poking to the inside goes Chris Hudson. Hudson trying to push. Hudson trying to see if he's going to be able to get that run. The track is going to favor him here. He's already got that lime green BMW down to the inside, trying to see if he's able to get it done, and yes, he is. The Can-Am Racing number 43 gets the position done, but here comes a little bit of a fight back.
Yeah, fight back right behind. Apparently, that was Arvello, not for Arvello, but right behind Arvello, there was a little bit of a battle between two drivers, and Hudson, you can see, try to close down Arnaud Genet. Arnaud was a little bit aggressive a few laps back to try to make the move on the same point, on the same little hairpin, to try to get within the top 15, and so far, that 312 car just doing really good job at the start of the race. I think that was about 3-4 spots up since he actually started this race.
Yeah, I've got him counted up that much as well. So a good job here from him, obviously proving us wrong. By the way, the biggest mover of the race thus far looks to be Brian Hoskins down in 29th position, who is up 7. But that is courtesy of a couple of drivers getting things wrong here, including Thoreau, Paguro, and Stevenson, all of whom are categorized as out of this race. So 3 retirees here with about 11 minutes down in this race, as we watch the number 43 right now, trying to see if they're able to get a little bit of a run here on Genet. Looks like Genet is able to hold off any attack from behind here for the moment. By the way, that is not an off track there for those drivers. They are able to cross over the white line there on the start-finish straightaway, so that is not a problem there for them as they now work their way through Estoril, and we wait to see if anybody's able to get the run off of this corner to get the move down into the Adelaide hairpin.
Ooh, a little bit of a problem from what it looks like from Arvello, not far behind. Might get overtaken on the inside here on the Alpine hairpin.
Yes, that's going to be, I believe, Jose Lockwood that's going to be able to send that Aston Martin down to the inside. That move is going to be completed there. A good move by Arvello. He's going to be pleased with that, getting himself up into that position. Excuse me, Lockwood able to get that move done there in the number 190 as now they funnel their way down into the Imola chicane. Ooh, bad run there for the number 190 of Lockwood. Looks like it didn't cost him too much, but still, you got to be careful about that. This track will bite you if you are not careful.
Yeah, like I said, whenever I used to drive the open wheels around the track like this on the old sims, I used to hate this sector too, because it's such tricky for you to navigate without even making a single mistake, especially where Lockwood made that problem. It looks like Arvello might try to pull the trigger from the move up here, up and under. Don't think he's gonna get that run on that number 28 car.
No, not quite able to get that overlap down into Chateau d'Eau, but I like the impetus there. I like the trying to push a little bit and see if you could force a mistake from that driver in front of you.
Yeah, and look at this. Actually, he got a little bit of a mistake from Lockwood into the second to final corner, but it's not enough to try to capitalize on any mistakes and make that overtake, as they're going to go one more lap. We're nearly approaching halfway through this race, and still kind of a deadlock in terms of uncertainty for the top 15.
Yeah, nobody really moving around here at this point. We have seen a couple drivers shuffle their way up the order a little bit. Trebonier losing a couple of positions, Riceputo losing a couple of positions. As we now take a look at the battle here for P6, this is Adam Brockway leading Miguel Vigo. Vigo trying to gain more than 2 positions here at this point in the running, but it just looks like that Mercedes not able to get the launch there off the corner, and again, coming down through the Imola chicane, that's not an area you want to try to get an overtake done. That is a tricky area to try to go too wide through.
Yeah, I agree, and I think for Brockway, the mindset has to be maximizing the point gap, because you were saying there was 3-4 retires in this race. Did you see who's one of those retired cars are?
Yeah, it's the number 13 and the number 45, Paguro and Stevenson. It looks like Simon Thoreau has been able to get back out on track, albeit a lap down.
Okay.
Jeffrey Seebach as well is a lap down.
Yeah, so I was going to say Thoreau had a disconnect. I don't know if he actually came back into the track, as we see Lockwood have to fend off again from Arvello. But what it means, basically, that lead is going to change at the end of this race. So who's going to grab the lead, though, as Lockwood goes fully defensive?
Yeah, Lockwood really worried about that. Not really sure what the flash of the headlights there necessarily was, as we've got our first taker potentially down pit lane. Carlos Villa coming into the pits here. The Geodesic Alpine Stars driver coming on in. Maybe a little bit early, as we are just about a third of the way done with the race, but nevertheless, clearly thinks this is the time to come on in. Is Tommy Brisson is going to follow him in as well.
Interested to see how this undercut for Brisson is going to work, because he was right on the middle of this field of chaos of cars. So let's see what the YS drivers has on in terms of pit stops and how efficient it's going to be out of the pit stop to try to get a maximum position in this field.
Yeah, exactly. I think crucially, if they're able to come out in a little bit of clean air, put down some hot laps, that could be a good strategy forward as we watch the 190 here continuing to try to battle. Now Alex May in the 113, that Mercedes behind all of this, looked like for a minute that he may have a little bit of something to say about it, but clearly falling back down through the order here, or falling back down a little bit from this battle. That's not going to continue to play itself out, and the Aston Martin here is going to continue to hold ahead here for Lockwood, building that gap to Frankie Arvello to about 0.6 of a second. It's exactly what he needs to do.
Yeah, because it gives a little bit of a headache for those who are in P17 and back to try to think how they can actually close down the gap towards Arvello. And right now, Arvello, the only thing he has to think about is that position of Lockwood to get within the top 15 and get some solid points. But then again, like I said before, many times, you still have the pit lane, the pit stop for you to try to negotiate it with, and even the pit stop can actually shred some tenths of a second and make that overtake, as we're going to complete one more lap.
Yes, we are, and that's a very good point. If you're able to save some fuel, that's the 96 taking a great move. Francis Castillo-Romero down to the inside, and the 85 of Marlon McMullen says that is too rich for my blood. I am going to dive down into pit lane and take my pit stop here.
Yeah, I think that was a hard-stopping moment for the 85. I probably would have felt the same, as the gap between the leaders has probably is extended a little bit, but I think after 3-4 laps, finally been at its closest around 0.7 of a second between Bellman and Beta 4.
I think it has as well here as they go. That is your current battle for the lead. The white Mercedes of Belmont, the black and gold of Bodefer closing down. And crucially here, the biggest thing that they've been able to have is that they have a 4-second advantage over Michael Diaz. And I think that's crucial if you're John Bodefer. You don't have to worry about that attack coming from behind. You're able to just make that move and not have to worry about anybody coming up behind you.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think Beta 4 is in a very comfortable position moving forward in this race. I think he just has to, you know, keep within Belmont's line of sight and try to negotiate a possible overtake if he actually gets close and don't overdrive the McLaren, which I know for a fact because I've driven a McLaren in GT4 splits before. It's an easy car to be punished by if you overdrive just one lap, and I mean one lap, it's enough for you to basically have your race done, because the GT4 just punishes you like that.
Yeah, it's a very tricky car to drive. It's not nearly as tricky necessarily as its bigger brother, the GT3, which is notorious for that off-throttle oversteer that will really pick up around the circuit. But it is definitely a car that will come back to bite you if you are not careful. We work on lap 11 here, about halfway done with this race, trying to see if anybody's going to have a move here. I think the closest one we're going to have here is Miguel Vigo, thinking about a move here to the outside of Brockway, coming down into the Adelaide hairpin here. It's going to be a battle of the late breakers to see who's going to be able to get that move to go. It looks like here that Brockway's able to hold it out, though.
Good job from Brockway, just riding all the way down to the Turtle AstroTurf a little bit and retaining that P6 from Vigo. Of course, Acosta says thank you very much from this infighting between both of them, even three of them, because now Trepanier not far behind from Miguel Vigo. And we can see the ESR versus Able driver to maybe contend with that Porsche Cayman against the other two German makes.
Yeah, very good point. He's able to pull up here and now be a part of this battle. And I think if you are Trepanier, you just have to hold out. You just have to be patient. If we've seen the aggression here from these drivers, we've seen particularly the want of Miguel Vigo to try to force his way on by. And if that continues out, that may be enough here for Trepanier to be able to get a little bit of a move. They've got to be careful, though. Keith Bonilla not too far behind them, so it could end up being a four-way battle if they're not careful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Bonilla, I think, is doing he's doing his best to try to keep up with these three cars. As we see Trepanier coming in and nearly flying into the pit stop. Thought he actually going to break the speeding limit record right there into the exit, into the entry out of the pit lane. But the SR versus Abel, I wouldn't say not a bad strategy. You know, trying to go for that undercut. Like I said before, you might require that luck, and I think Trepanier might actually be one of those in the way they're going right now. Might get that luck.
Yeah, very well may be able to get that luck, and I think what's crucial here for them is, once again, holding on to those clean laps. If you're able to come out of the pits and not have to worry about any cars in front of you, that is going to be what is absolutely crucial here for yourself to be able to get good lap times and be able to put yourself ahead. If any of these drivers find themselves coming out of a bit of lap traffic, though, that is going to send everything for a loop. We continue to watch, though. Right now, Miguel Vigo trying to work on Adam Brockway as we are over the halfway point here in this race, coming down through 180, trying to see if there's anything to be had. And again, this is part of the track where you can't really get that move done. You just got to be patient and wait for that opportunity.
Yeah, but I don't think that Vigo is going to wait for that opportunity. I think he's going to look for that move. He's really close. So if that door opens, he's going to make that move. If not here, set himself up, try to get a really solid run on that BMW. But good distancing from Brockway into the final corners, and kind of blocks off whatever Vigo wants.
Oh, it's our leader. Yeah, that's Nicholas Belmont coming down into pit lane here, as he's going to continue to continue on this strategy of drivers coming in a little bit earlier than expected. As now Belmont will bring that car into pit lane. It doesn't look like anybody's going to follow him here, and as expected, no tires here taken during the pit stops. I take that back. Chris Hudson does look like he is going to follow him on in, so the number 43 will be bringing that car in as well. It looks like Marc-Andre Desjardins has come on into the pits, but I believe that is a tow situation. I believe that is a issue where he had a little bit of a problem and had to bring himself back in. So Desjardins very well may be one of the most recent retirees here in this race.
Which is unfortunate, but then again, we didn't have a lot of retirees, despite the nature of the track providing you with the chaos and conflict, so which is really good to see. But now we're all aiming for Beta 4. Diaz, Ream, and Acosta is coming to the pit lane. Also, Brockway and the rest of the top 8 as well.
Yes, they are. Bodefer here coming up to pit lane entry in not too many corners as we watch the number 21 machine working his way out of the pits right now. That's the Valhalla Esports driver, Darren Rutherford, coming on out of the pits. Remember, that was the driver that we saw having a little bit of a problem earlier on in the race. Here is Bodefer. Let's see if he decides to come on into pit lane. He's got to work his way through a couple of chicanes first, particularly down here into Lassay. Brings that car around. Now, we should know relatively quickly, and indeed, he's going to stay out there, almost picking up a slowdown penalty coming through the Lassay chicanes. He's got to be careful about that. But Bodefer, nobody around him. He can just put in some hot laps. I think the strategy here, if you're the leader, Lorenzo, is run this car until it's dry.
Yeah, I think that's what he's doing right now. As we see now, battle between Aiden Young and Reese Puto, as Young has been fending off that hard point by Delta Sport driver, and I think that's what everybody's going to do, except for Arnaud Genet, as the Genet coming to the pit lane. But wondering still if that is actually, this overcut is going to work out for Beta 4 at the end of the day, because their gap was really close to one another.
Yeah, it certainly was. I take a look down. We're not going to have an idea of lap times here necessarily until another lap, because that last lap obviously was set as Belmont came out of pit lane, but here is Aiden Young and RaceSpotTV. RaceSpotTV trying to take a little bit of a look there off of Chateau d'Eau, not able to get that to work, so RaceSpotTV is going to have to stay in line. This is the battle for 9th place position as they now come down into the right-hander that leads into this part of the track, down into 180. Let's see if anything's going to be able to play. I've seen more than a fair few drivers get this corner wrong, but it doesn't look like Young or RaceSpotTV were going to have that befall them here at this point.
And RaceSpotTV not having that run whatsoever, as they are about 15 seconds. If it is 15 seconds, we should be able to see maybe Beta 4 come to the pit lane and everybody else as they're running dry. 15 minutes. That's what the car can give you, maybe one lap extra. But nevertheless, still everybody just keeping one abreast as Beta 4 just stays on track for one more lap from what it looks like. Diaz not.
Yeah, Diaz and Ream both decide to come down into pit lane. Abner Acosta going to be able to keep that car out on track for at least another lap. We're having quite a few takers down pit lane. Keith Bonilla, Aiden Young also coming on into the pits here at this point. As we said before, no tires expected during these pit stops. It should be fuel only. Frankie Arvello and Francis Castillo Romero also coming down into pit lane. There's a look at your former leader, Nicholas Belmont. The number 40 Mercedes should be able to make that work and keep himself out ahead of everyone else. Here is Justin Ream coming back out in pit lane. He will be in 9th place position, about 2.5 seconds behind Belmont here at this point.
And just wondering how actually that is going to be efficient as Vigo goes for the overtake on Brockway. Brockway still trying to fend off, but they're going to go through the S's right here. This can be very dicey between both of them.
Yes, it most certainly can. Let's see if he's able to get anything to go here. Not going to play itself out. I think they're going to have to stay in line for the moment.
Yeah, but good defensive move from Brockway to try to catch the position back from Vigo. Despite the time loss, I don't know what's going to happen between them in comparison to what would just say maybe Diaz, Torcho, Ream, Belmont. Whenever they come back into the track, how much of a time loss that will be as they go into the final sector, into the final corners, maybe pit stop incoming.
Maybe indeed, as they come down through the last couple of corners. Your leader coming through Chateau d'Eau right now, so he's going to bring that car around as we keep our eyes focused on this battle. Vigo trying to see if he's able to gain any ground as the leader, John Bodefer, is going to be coming down into pit lane. Your leader into the pits, so this is the question. Abner Acosta also coming down. Brockway, Vigo coming in. I think this is the end of the pit stop window.
Yep. Pit party.
Big time, as there is your former leader, Nicholas Belmont. Let's see where he's able to do. Comes down through Lassay right now. Bodefer waiting. He's already on a pit lane exit. All right, here is the battle. Belmont and Bodefer. Who's going to be able to carry the most speed as they come down into Estoril 4 this time? And it looks like there that Bodefer has played this to perfection. 3 seconds up in front of Belmont. My goodness gracious.
Yep, played to perfection for Beta 4. Nearly 3 seconds between them.
And it looks like here that part of the reason for that is that was an incredibly long stop for Belmont. We're just now seeing that on our screens. 17.7 seconds compared to a 14.6 for John Bodefer. That is quite a substantial difference.
Yeah, I think that is the curse of being the leader. You know, you're just going to spend more fuel. It's going to be harder for you to save. Of course, you lift and coast and do your stuff. But nevertheless, what a move from Beta 4. Just kind of like sealing the deal as now his teammate, Justin Ream, now gunning for that top 3. But he has 2 Aston Martins that are teammates to deal with.
Yes, he does, and that is Michael Diaz and Abner Acosta. Acosta, by the way, lightning quick down pit lane, 13.5 seconds, although I think the fastest pit stop that we are seeing here at this point was Miguel Vigo, who was able to do a 13-second flat pit stop. And here comes a little bit of a look from Ream. He thought about it going down in to Imola, but that isn't going to play as now they come here down into Chateau d'Eau, trying to see what they're able to get. Ream looking very aggressive as we've seen him doing many times previously.
Yeah, and I think he's going to have to try to make that move right here, even though he has to go to the outside on the braking zone here, DJ. Late braking from Diaz, though.
Late braking from Diaz is going to be able to scupper any chance that Justin Ream has, but look at how Ream is able to bound over those curves going through the Lassay chicane. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get the move here into Estoril. He certainly thinks about it, fading down to the inside, thinking about it there a little bit, but that's not going to play. He's got to be careful about this, Lorenzo, because if he keeps trying to be this aggressive, I think Abner Acosta is going to be all over his rear tailpipe.
Oh, you stole my line of thought. Dude, I was about to say that. The one thing you really don't want to be concerned about is having the friend behind you trying to think about making an overtake, and you're thinking about making that overtake as well. So, making an overtake doesn't go too well for one driver. Look at that.
No, it does not. That's Acosta trying to do exactly what we talked about. But Ream with a good defense there out of the Adelaide hairpin, going to be able to put him at bay for the moment. But let's look and see here. Does Acosta have a little bit more coming down into Nürburgring? No, it doesn't look like he's going to. Ream, though, has lost a little bit of time to the drivers up in front of him, particularly Michael Diaz. He's able to get that gap a little bit lower. Looks like he takes a narrower line there through 180, but he's going to try to close in here. That's a really impressive run through 180. That gap was at about 0.7 of a second. It's now down to about 2.5 tenths.
Yeah, as they go down into the sweeping corners, go right hand side now, left hand side now, going to the right hand. Yeah, looking at Diaz, shorter run. Here we go.
He's going to take another little look there, trying to see if he's able to get anything, but that's not going to play. Now as they come down into Lassay, let's see if he's able to get this to play out. Excuse me, that is Lassay. Not going to be able to do it there, but again, this corner, a lot about setup here at this point. He's got to try to keep himself close behind and see if he can get that run. It doesn't look like he's going to get the move here into Estoril, but let's see what he can do. Is he going to be able to make anything? No, he's got to be patient here, and I think this time he's got to focus on his exit out of Estoril, try to get that run down into the Adelaide hairpin. That's the best place to overtake.
Yeah, you were saying the really good run into Estoril right now, but I don't think that is enough for Ream to make that overtake. The 912 is thinking about that move, looking towards the inside. That inside is covered. Is he going to go for the duck and weave and try to make that move? Punching gloves? No punching gloves to try to go into the number one. Bends off, be the passenger of chaos one more time.
Yes, he does, but he's got to get this move done sooner rather than later here, Lorenzo. I just looked up at the clock. We've got 8.5 minutes left to go. That is not a lot of time here, probably about 5 or 6 laps roughly for these drivers to circulate around here. They've got to try to get a move on. Otherwise, this could be the final position that we see Justin Ream in, and I know for a fact he wants to be on this podium.
No, absolutely. Just going to take a quick look at Ream right here in this championship into P10. Did not start round number 1. Of course, got into the podium into P2 whenever the Alpine Stars, Geodesic, Mercedes, and McLaren's dominated into the finish of that race. One more good result over here would propel him maybe into P7, even maybe P5, depending on circumstances, how that number 912 of the McLaren team does in these final moments.
His do have drop weeks available in this series, and so that can come back to help him out a little bit. But we will have to see how that plays itself out. Be with us through the entirety of this 10-race championship here on RaceSpotTV. It does look like Ream has lost a little bit of time here at this point, though, going through Estoril. He's going to find himself maybe under attack here from Abner Acosta. Acosta's about 0.3 of a second back. I think that's going to be a little bit too far there for the Argentinian driver to really be able to get the move there as they try to be able to get themselves moving back around.
Yeah, and also look at the tower. Looks like Genet lost P15 to Hudson, so Genet try to catch back as they're, from what it looks like, coming out of Estoril, going into the hairpin from that number 43, defending for the 312, and number 28 for Arvello, looking for the move as well, but cannot lose a lot of time. Look behind them. May and Romero also battling as well.
Yeah, and this is a story that we're seeing up and down through the field. The drivers have to be careful, not only about trying to get that move going down into the corner, but also watching in their rearview mirror, attempting to make sure that they don't get overtaken here. 6 minutes left to go, trying to see what they can get here as they run, working their way on through McLaren. Leading BMW is the number 28 of Arvello, tries to be able to close in up ahead of Genet and Chris Hudson. Want to give some credit here to Chris Hudson, Lorenzo. Hudson is a driver that we are used to seeing on the oval side of things. He really cut his teeth in the Sunday and Wednesday night series here on for the Precision Racing League, and it is fantastic to see him giving a shot here on the road racing side of things and holding his own, it has to be said.
No, not only that, but getting his first top 15 in the season. And just taking a look at the standings for Hudson, P33, not solid results in both races. This one, I think, doing much better with the Can-Am BMW. So I think he has to be very, very satisfied that number 43 is going to get really good points, not only for himself, but for his team, if he actually wraps up like this.
Yeah, and I certainly think he has the potential to. He's going to take a better line there through Estoril, as Genet looks like he was put offline a little bit by the BMW. And indeed, Genet is going to have to check his momentum as he ran a little bit wide there on the exit of the right-hander. 5 minutes to go here from Circuit Magny-Cours, though, and drivers have to get a move on if they want to try to get that pass done. Seeing a little bit of that move on here, as that was going to be Genet thinking about a move to the inside of Hudson, but Hudson didn't deviate from his track. He'll keep it online, and that may have opened up an opportunity here for Frankie Arvello to try to make a move on the Aston Martin driver.
I was going to say traction control might have kicked in a little bit for Genet at the exit out of the corner. And meanwhile, I think that looks like Carlos Vila and RaceSpotTV trying for battle for position. What it looks like RaceSpotTV managed to get something on Vila or retain position. So everything's hitting up now. Final moments of this race. You got to make those moves. You got to make those points, not just for yourself, teams as well. And everybody just scrambling to try to see what they can claw at the final 5 minutes of this race.
Yeah, exactly. It is on here as they run, trying to be able to see what they can get. This battle right now, the dueling Mercedes of RaceSpotTV and Carlos Vila, trying to see what they are able to get. Big hop the curb there for both drivers as they come out. That's going to be a wide run for the number 69. Is that going to hurt him as they come down the start-finish straightaway here? It doesn't look like it is at this point, but now as they work their way into Estoril, I can say here for the moment that RaceSpotTV is going to be able to hold it off here for the moment, but that 48 certainly starting to loom large. Good run there out of the corner. Lorenzo, he may have a little bit of a run.
Absolutely. I think that was a little bit of a skip from RaceSpotTV. And let's look at Vila. On the outside middle lane for RaceSpotTV, and Vila has to basically be on the outside to take the normal line and maybe get an up and under going through the S's of Nürburgring and make that overtake, but it doesn't look like. 69 still in P11.
Yeah, still going to hold on to that position here for the moment as they now work their way through Nürburgring before they get into 180. Not in trying to be able to see what they are able to do. Not going to be a move there for the number 48, or is it? Still trying to look to the inside of 180, still trying to push that advantage. I love what I'm seeing here out of the 48. I love this constant pressure. I love this constant attack that I'm seeing.
Yeah, it is like I said before, you know, patience as we see now back into Ream, going into the final corners, trying to look for that run, blocked out on the outside, but he has to come in really soon. And we are approaching final 2 laps here of this race. Mr. DJ Clark, time is running out, track is running out as well for all these drivers, and I think Ream is in a very uncomfortable spot because one wrong move can basically be not maybe the end of the podium, but also just getting relegated outside of the top 5.
Yeah, very much getting him relegated out of the top 5, and he does not want to do that. Ream here just trying to keep the pressure up, and you called it right there, Lorenzo. 2 laps to go from Circuit Magny-Cours as they try to work their way through, and now Ream is going to be on the defensive here. He's got to hold that car to the inside of the track as they sweep their way through the right-handed sweeper of Gulf, trying to see what it can do. Abner Acosta going to have a look around the outside of Adelaide, tries to be later on the binders, almost contact there between the 2 drivers. Acosta tries to get that move to stick. I don't think it's going to. He's going to try to stay on long side as long as possible, but Abner, this may not work out here. Trying to see, and Acosta has to give up the ghost.
Yeah, and as a counterpart, what happened is there's a little bit of a gap opened up between Diaz and Reem, so Diaz getting that breathing room that he so long desired from Reem in these final moments of this race. So his Argentinian teammate doing wonders, whether he likes it or not, for Acosta to lose ground towards Reem, not be able to overtake, and get a 3-4 for Precision Racing Team, but still within contention as we opened up the final lap for what it looks like.
Yes, that is correct. I see your leader right now, John Bodefer, coming through the Lassay chicane. As there we see the 1 and the 2. Bodefer going to come across the line, and there you can see Barney the flagman waving that white flag here. 1 lap to go from Magny-Cours, and dare I say for John Bodefer, it's a bit of a Sunday drive here for him. But the battle continues to be heating up for Justin Reem. May not have the chance to attack here on Michael Diaz, but he has got to be watching in those rear view mirrors, those rear view cameras, and make sure he doesn't present an opportunity for Abner Acosta.
He's trying to maximize the run into Astral to try to get a really good closing run into that Mercedes-Benz. Meanwhile, Vila from Vigo and trying to fend off Bergstrom outside of Astral as well, as Bergstrom looking towards the inside, maybe gonna try to pull that move into the Adelaide hairpin, because that BMW looking feisty right there.
Certainly is. He's got a better run coming down off the line, and even before they get into the braking zone, it looks like Miguel Vigo is forced to give up the ghost, as that's going to be Bergstrom up and on by. We check back in on that battle with Justin Reem. It looks like he's been able to drop a little bit of time to Abner Acosta, and now has his eyes up the road on Diaz right now, trying to see if he's able to close down as they come through 180, trying to see if they're able to get anything here at this point. Now it looks like Acosta is going to be closing in a little bit more. Slow down penalty, slow down for Reem.
Yeah, for just running too much on the outside of 180 and just giving the room to Acosta. And basically, Reem relegated to the outside spot of the top 5, still top 5, but that is going to be better for the Alpine Star geodesic driver.
Going to be very, very bitter indeed. It's going to be a hard pill to swallow here at the end of the race, but what is going to be a good pill to swallow is the victory for John Bodefer, who will take victory here at Magny-Cours. Nicholas Belmont will come home behind him, and it looks like a pretty easy sail here for Michael Diaz to round out your podium.
As still a few guys are cycling themselves around the track for what it looks like. Brockway outside of the top 5, but a really good result for that P3 in the championship. So let's see what the other guys will cycle themselves around the track.
Yeah, this is Chris Hudson leading the way right now over Genet, Arvelo, May, and Castillo. Are we going to see any changes here as they cross over the line? No, they are not. They will stay in single file order there to round out that battle. Here's another one coming in right now. Torchio, Brisson, and McMullen look like they're going to come into line in the same way that they entered into it.
Someone having fun on the background, though.
Yeah, somebody having a little bit of fun there. As here comes the number 100 machine. This is Patrick Bachelard, who will cross over the line. Bachelard will finish in 27th position. Now Tony Costello is going to cross over. We just have to wait here for Marshall, Lidke, and Hoskins, the last couple of drivers here, to be able to come across, as there is going to be the BMW of Brian Hoskins, who we believe to be the last driver to finish the run here today. He's going to bring that car through the final corner. I think that was Jeffrey Seebach that you saw flash across your screen. He is listed as 2 laps down, and he won't be able to gain any positions there, as Hoskins will cross over, and he will find himself finishing the race there in 31st. That should go ahead and bring us over to our final finishing order for the run here today. As you heard us say, it was John Bodefer able to take victory over his rivals, courtesy of a very speedy pit stop. Nicholas Belmont, with a lengthy pit stop, comes home in P2, and then it's Michael Diaz to round out your podium. Abner Acosta is in P4, followed by Justin Reem with that slowdown penalty coming back to bite him. Vincent Trepanier finishes in P6, followed by Adam Brockway with Keith Bonilla, Alec Bergstrom, and Miguel Vigo rounding out your top 10. Then in is Nicholas Riceputo in 11th, followed by Carlos Vila with Aiden Young, Chris Hudson, and Arnaud Genet in the top 15. Frankie Arvello was 16th, followed by Alex May with Francis Castillo-Romero, Jose Lockwood, and David Van Roy to round out your top 20. 21st was Alessandro Torchio, followed by Tommy Brisson, Marlon McMullen, then Philippe Magnon and Kevin Ayers in 25th place. 26th was Darren Rufford, followed by Patrick Bachelard, Tony Costello, and J.S. Marshall. Drew Lidke was 30th, Brian Hoskins 31st, and then we get into some of the drivers that had problems here today. Thoreau, Seabach, Desjardins, Maguro, and Stevenson rounding out your 36-car field. And it looks like that we have been able to be caught up with a few of our podium finishers here. First and foremost, your race winner, John Bodefer. And John, a very closely contested battle at the start of the race. Were you doing a little bit of fuel saving there, or were you just trying to push as much as you could?
No, I was absolutely doing a lot of fuel saving. First couple laps, I just realized I wasn't getting enough, so I was doing a lot more lift and coast because I figured my only chance to get by Nicholas was to do an overcut.
Well, you made the overcut work. It looked like you were exponentially quicker in the pit stops. Did you have any problems there, any worries after you came out of pit lane?
No, after looking at the gap when I was exiting pit lane, it looked like I had a few seconds. I think maybe Nicholas got caught up in traffic when he boxed a little earlier there, so after that, it was kind of just trying to avoid off tracks and slowdowns and make it to the end.
Well, is this a portent of things to come for you? Is this a little bit of a marquee win for you that you want to continue on? Obviously, we head to Mount Panorama next, but you going to keep up your winning ways when we head to Bathurst?
I hope to. Honestly, this was probably my worst track of the three we've done so far. I made a mistake in the first race, and then Justin got me at the line last week in the Daytona Fuel Save Draft Fest. So, yeah, looking forward to Bathurst. It's a fun, challenging track. You got to, you're kind of fighting your opponents and the track at the same time. So it makes it just an added variable there. It makes it more interesting.
Well, I know I'm looking forward to it. But John, who makes this possible for you? Who'd you like to thank?
Yeah, big thanks to the guys at Geodesic. We have our new sponsor, Hydro Race, with their new water bottles, custom water bottles. So check those out. Hydro Race USA and GSI. And thanks to you guys for the broadcast.
We were more than happy to put it on. That was John Bodefer, your victor, here today. And now I believe, Lorenzo, you have been able to catch up with P2, Nicholas Belmont.
Yeah, so Belmont, pole position in P2 in this race. Of course, a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow because you had a little bit extra, but still P2 in this race, and also good points into this championship, which is tightly contested. Must be good at the end of the day.
Oh, I couldn't be any more stoked. I'm absolutely sick as a dog. John is an animal. It was an absolute pleasure to race with him. I have no complaints. Second is so much better than how my season's been going so far. Not mad at all. He definitely beat me on the pit strategy, played his cards perfectly. It was a hell of a race. I enjoyed it very much.
I was going to ask because you start from the pole position, and it's a very odd, not an odd place to be because you are in a track that is a bit different from anything that you guys probably raced before this season. How is it to lead off the pit out of P1 and try to negotiate the first few laps being followed by everybody, and how much pressure do you feel? Do you think any of those cars can be more like, oh, I'm going to contend for positions and you're going to have to defend yourself the entire time?
Honestly, I felt probably the least pressure of any track that I could have led because this track is so new. I felt like it was kind of an equalizer. This is my first PRL and first GT4 series, so I feel like this track gave me like an opportunity to kind of show, where I'm at compared to these guys. These guys have been doing it probably a good bit longer than me, and so it was kind of a nice opportunity for me to break out and kind of show what I got. So I'm
I would say it was exciting racing this new track, and I very much enjoyed it. It is tricky. You got to eat the curves a lot more than just about any track that I've ever raced. It's freaking rallycross out there, but it's fun. It's a fun challenge, hard to pass at, so I kind of knew that John would be patient with me just because you can really slow each other down trying to pass here. And so I trusted him, and he played his cards right, like I said, and yeah, no, it was great.
Right on, and man, before we let you go, anybody want to thank on the Race Factory crew that is helping you with that AMG GT4 as you preparing to the flat track, and to be fully sarcastic over here, track of Mount Panorama.
Absolutely. I want to thank Delta Sport Race Factory. It was they have me on a little probationary period here, testing the waters. This is my first time trying with the team. Love the opportunity, and of course my boys Gianni and Nick for getting their heads down this week and training with me on this track. It's new to everybody, so it was fun to give it a go with those boys for sure.
Perfect. Nicholas, again, congratulations to the P2. Finally, a good result. You break into the top 15 most likely, and can we see what you're going to do at the Aussie track?
Absolutely. I hope to talk to you guys again next week.
All right, that was Nicholas Belmont, your second place finisher, and we've got time here for one more interview with your third place finisher, Michael Diaz. And Michael, it looked like you didn't quite have the pace to be able to keep up with John and Nicholas up in front of you, but still a podium, a great race result for you.
Yeah, for sure. The car was really good in Sector 1. I felt faster than most guys there, but then the rest of the track was a real struggle, especially that last sector with those high curves. In the Aston is just a a show. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the third. I managed to finish ahead of Justin there. It was a pretty good fight. So yeah, happy with it.
Well, as we continue to look on in this season, I mean, you mentioned finishing ahead of Justin. How much are you keeping an eye on the championship battles and all of that to try to keep yourself up ahead, or how much are you just keeping this race to race?
It's definitely a race to race. I got lucky in the first race, and then at Daytona, I messed up my quality, so that was the struggle. And then today, new track, first race here, happy to get a podium. So yeah, definitely race to race and just fighting whoever I'm next to each track.
Well, we look forward to you continuing fighting as we continue to go along. But as for today, Michael, who makes this possible?
Yeah, for sure. The guys at PRL, Jerome, all those guys over there, and then shout out to Adam, who finally managed to finish a race. So yeah, good for him. And thanks to you guys for the broadcast.
We are more than happy to do it. Thank you so much. That was Michael Diaz, your third place finisher here today. And that's about going to wrap things up for us here on RaceSpotTV. It has been an absolute pleasure to bring you all of the action here from both Laguna Seca and from Magny-Cours. Please stick with us next time out. As you heard us say, we will head to Summit Point and we will head to the mountain, Mount Panorama. But as for today, on behalf of myself, DJ Clark, as well as Lorenzo Bonder up here in the booth with me and Connery Maddock behind the scenes, it's been an absolute pleasure to bring you the racing action. And until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.